You just paid $149 for a putter fitting. The fitter handed you a $400 putter, told you it was the only one that matched your stroke, and you bought it. Your three-putt average hasn't changed. That's not a coincidence. Here's the reality. That $149 session wasn't a service. It was a sales funnel engineered to make you feel like a $400 decision was your idea. Let me show you the receipt. A 2002 Golf Galaxy press release documents the first fit and buy studio in Orlando. Flat $19 for 30 minutes. The business model was simple. Anchor the consumer with a small upfront fee, then steer them toward a premium purchase. In 2023, Golf Business Magazine reported the average fitting customer spent $149 total, including the putter. The fitting fee itself? Often waived or discounted if you bought the club. That's not customer service. That's behavioral architecture. Here's what nobody notices about your putter fitting. The price anchor. Ariely and Norton's 2008 study in the Journal of Consumer Research found that participants exposed to a $400 price anchor were 68% more likely to purchase a premium putter.
As you can see,
the fitter doesn't just recommend a club. They show you the $450 model first, then the $350. The $300 feels like a bargain, but you never needed a $300 putter either. Let that number sit for a second. 68%. That's not a recommendation. That's a statistical inevitability. If that number hit you the way it hit me, you know exactly what kind of system we're dealing with right now. Subscribe to stay ahead of these mechanisms. Next video, I show you how the same anchor is buried in every driver fitting you've ever paid for. Drop 68% in the comments if you've ever bought a putter you didn't need after hearing that exact pitch. Now, look at the second layer. The perceived expertise trap. Green and colleagues published a 2020 study in the Journal of Retailing, tracking 458 golfers across 3 fitting studios. When the fitter was perceived as highly expert, the odds of purchasing a putter over $300 increased by 57%. Putters over $300. The same study found that expertise was measured not by actual knowledge, but by the number of technical terms used during the fitting. Lie angle, loft, toe flow, balance point. The fitter doesn't need to be right. They need to sound right. You paid for a session where a stranger in a polo shirt used jargon to convince you that your $400 purchase was precision engineering. The data says it worked. Quick pause. I want you to think about the last time you stood over a 3-footer with a putter you didn't fully trust. That feeling in your chest wasn't the club. It was the memory of the price tag. C. and Rottenstreik's 2004 study in psychological science found that anchoring on a high price produced a 0.62 standard deviation increase in willingness to pay, meaning the higher the anchor, the more you're willing to pay, even if the product's actual performance is identical to a cheaper option. Your brain encodes the price as quality. The putter you bought for $400 feels better because you paid more for it, not because it actually performs better. The system is designed to make you feel like a smart shopper while bleeding you dry. Here's the core mechanism. Each fee is small enough to ignore. The fitting fee, the upgraded grip, the custom shaft. The total is large enough to change your relationship with the sport. You stop seeing putting as a skill. You start seeing it as a piece of equipment you haven't optimized yet. The USGA's 1999 putter fitting guidelines standardized how clubs measure lie angle, loft, and swing weight. But those guidelines didn't mandate what happens after the measurement. That's where the psychology takes over. Kahneman and Tversky's prospect theory demonstrates that when fitters frame missing the optimal fit as a loss, purchase likelihood rises by about 30%. You're not buying a better putter. You're avoiding the regret of not buying it. The fitter frames the status quo as a loss. Your current putter is costing you strokes. The $400 club is the only way to stop the bleeding. If you've ever sat in a fitting studio, watched the fitter shake their head at your current putter's lie angle, and felt that familiar knot of inadequacy tighten in your stomach, you know exactly how this mechanism works. You weren't being fitted, you were being sold. This is the exact moment most golfers either leave angry or leave lighter in the wallet. If you're still here, you're the kind of golfer who wants the real data, not the marketing. Subscribe so you see the full blueprint. The next video walks through how pros bypass these traps entirely. Comment, loss frame. If you've heard that exact, you're losing strokes line during a fitting. Here's the truth that ties this together. Mazar and Ariely's 2006 paper on consumer dishonesty found that 22% of participants admitted to buying a higher-priced item they didn't need after a persuasive recommendation. 22%, that's 1 in 5 golfers. But the real number is probably higher, because fitting studios rely on something stronger than persuasion. They rely on cognitive dissonance. You paid $149 to be told what to buy. If you don't buy the putter, the fitting was a waste. So you buy the putter to justify the session. The $149 was never a fee. It was a commitment device. You paid for the right to be upsold. Let's clear this up. You think a putter fitting is about your stroke. It's not. It's about your wallet. Every data point, every measurement, every recommendation is engineered to guide you toward a specific price point. The fitting exists to identify which $400 putter you're most likely to buy, not which putter actually reduces your 3-putt average. Grandview Research reports the global golf club fitting market was valued at $1.2 billion in 2020 and is projected to reach $2.0 billion by 2028. That growth isn't driven by better fitting technology, it's driven by the psychological mechanisms we just exposed. More fitters, more anchors, more perceived expertise, more loss framing. The industry isn't selling better putting. It's selling the feeling that your current putter is holding you back. Statista reports that 2.3 million putter fitting sessions were sold in the United States in 2022, a 19% year-over-year increase. J.D. Power's 2021 Golf Consumer Survey found that only 24% of respondents were very satisfied with their fitting recommendation. 41% felt pressured to upgrade. Think about that. Nearly half of everyone who walked into a fitting studio felt pressured. And they bought anyway. Because the system works. Here's what nobody tells you about the fitting fee. The Better Business Bureau recorded a 42% increase in complaints about mandatory putter upgrade recommendations between 2019 and 2022. Consumers reported being told their current putter was dangerously misaligned or costing them strokes they couldn't afford to lose. Pressure framed as concern. Upsell packaged as care. The average list price of a premium putter in 2023 was $399. In 2024, Statista reports it rose to $490. The golf club fitting market doesn't just sell sessions. It sells a narrative that your equipment is obsolete, your stroke is flawed, and only a $400 solution can fix it. If you've ever walked out of a fitting studio with a new putter you didn't plan to buy and felt that dull throb of buyer's remorse before you even hit the practice green, you know the system is working exactly as intended. You were never the customer, you were the product. The real customer is the putter brand that pays the studio for access to your wallet. Here's the blueprint. 3 moves that break the cycle. First, refuse the price anchor. When the fitter shows you the $450 a putter first, ask to see the $250 model. The anchor works only if you accept the frame. Step out of it. A 2020 study in consumer psychology found that conscious resistance to an anchor reduces willingness to pay by approximately 30%. You don't need to avoid the fitting, you need to control the price conversation.
Do not buy it.
Second, separate the fitting from the purchase. Pay for the session, get the data, and leave. Do not buy the putter in the same visit. The commitment device only works in the moment. Once you're home, the cognitive dissonance fades, and you can evaluate the data without the pressure of the upsell. A 2019 analysis by golf.com found that golfers who waited at least 48 hours before purchasing a putter after a fitting spent an average of $127 less than those who bought on the spot. Rationality requires distance. Third, verify the recommendation with an independent source. take your fitting data to a club repair shop or a second fitter. If both recommend the same putter, fine. But if the second fitter recommends a different club, you've exposed the system. The first fitter wasn't fitting, they were selling. The USGA's 1999 guidelines never required studios to disclose brand relationships. Most studios get inventory at cost or receive kickbacks from manufacturers. You're paying for a recommendation that was pre-approved by the vendor. The smartest fitting fee is no fee at all. Walk into the studio knowing your budget. State it clearly before the session starts. I'm not spending over $250 on a putter. The fitter adjusts immediately. The anchor doesn't hold if the frame is yours. A 2021 experiment in the Journal of Economic Psychology found that stating a price limit before a negotiation reduced the influence of the seller's anchor by 41%. You control the number. The fitter controls the data. Your number wins every time. You've just seen exactly how the putter fitting industry engineers your spending. The $149 session, the $400 putter, the anchor, the expertise, the loss framing, the cognitive dissonance. The system works because each piece is small enough to ignore, and the total is large enough to change your relationship with the game. But every round is a chance to cut the waste. The next time you're standing over a 3-footer with a putter you bought under pressure, remember the data. The putter didn't change your stroke, the session changed your perception. And perception is the most expensive upgrade you can buy. One of the hidden pieces I just mentioned, the brand relationship between studios and manufacturers, is the most dangerous. In the next video, I'll show you how fitting studios are paid to recommend specific clubs and how to read the data they don't want you to see. Subscribe now. Next Thursday, we uncover the secret fees baked into every putter purchase. Before you leave, type kickback in the comments if you've ever wondered why the fitter pushed one brand harder than another. That word is the key to the system they don't want you to understand.